Those millennials that purposely go to those sanctuary cities, they start salivating at the mouth. So here's my unique situation, is from the 2x4 to 2x4 is too big. What I did for the temporary door was just shim this in, and I had a door meant for a 2x4 wall inset from this lip here. This lip here would be nice to keep because it gives me a place to put some door trim. So if I were to remove this whole section of plaster here, there would be hardly any room to have any sort of door trim. So what I'm going to do is shim this out so that the door jamb goes right up tight to here. So we have a similar situation over here, but it's an opposite lip. And this lip here is made out of drywall and plywood. Much easier to remove and not have it completely disintegrate and fall apart. And again, the reason I didn't do this on the first install was because I knew it was temporary. Just get a door up in here, make it open and close for a few weeks. What I don't want to do is a whole bunch of drywall work. This is taped and mudded in, this drywall here, textured even, painted. So I'm going to slice down here, remove a 3/4 inch strip of drywall, and then I've got to cut through this 3/4 inch plywood and remove the lip, remove about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. That will shift this door somewhat centered in the opening, and it'll push it tight to here. This gap here, this gap will be spanned by the trim. So this is where this doorway is funky. This used to be an exterior wall, and there's lath and plaster on one side, and I've removed all the siding from this side. And this is how we came up with, hopefully, 5 3/4-ish. Yeah, exactly 5 3/4. Hoping I made the door jambs the right thickness there. There's an example of the plywood shim. I'm actually going to get some screws in here to hold this in place. It's almost flush with this, and it'll allow me some wiggle room to put in some wood shims to get the door properly aligned. So now I got to remove this lip of this 3/4 inch plywood. There's a lot of tools that can do this. Any reciprocating saw could do it. I'm going to start out with the oscillating multi-tool vibrating saw. It's going to take a little bit longer. I do have a fresh $4,000 blade in here, so hopefully this should go through here quickly. I'm going to use this 2x4 as kind of a guide and just work my way down and then work my way up. It's not something I would want to do all day long, but it's in this small instance, I think this is going to keep the dust down and not rip this apart. These doors at least got to be 250 pounds. Picking them up with your fingertips isn't all that easy. So at this point, the door is just tacked into place, hopefully enough for me to open the door, sneak through, check all the reveals, then I'll fasten it into place to support this weight. This is a heavy door, solid core, none of that flapping in the breeze stuff. So I'm gonna pop this little plastic retainer out. That's gonna want the door to wanna sink. But I have this one up right here at the top, firmly snugged into place. We shouldn't go anywhere. I'm really fine-tuning this door. I pulled out the middle screw to the hinge. I'm going to drill it out all the way through. Hopefully I don't mess the door up. Now we're all the way through. Now I'm going to use a bigger screw to suck this tighter to that stud. Just tweak my reveals to be perfect. So when this door expands and contracts, it doesn't rub. And I'm doing the rest of my shimming from this side. I've got the bottom one put in just about perfect. So the top and the bottom are perfect. Now it's right here where the latch is. I've got to close this up, and I'm just going to manipulate these shims to close that gap to where I want it. I'm going to hold it in place, and it's a little tight. This thing swells up at all. We're going to have some problems. So I'm going to back it out. Now because this door is so heavy, I'm taking the middle screw of the hinge out. That's how big the screws are that hold this door to the jamb. Teensy weensy. I've already taken the middle one out of the top hinge. I'm going to do that to the other two. The reason I'm doing the middle hinge is that's the closest inboard to the jamb. The other two, just a little over a ½ inch in from the face here. We have the thickness of the drywall to think about. So that inner one is maybe 1¼ inch, 1/8 in, and it will get me right into that 2x4. How's the lighting? The lighting in this house is horrible for filming. So before I put these screws in, I'm going to make sure there's a shim slid right behind that screw hole so I'm not messing up my settings. So if you watched a few videos back when I was cutting this jamb and customizing it, it is perfect. Down to the 64th. It's that close in its perfection in the thickness of this wall. You can't order these jambs in this style door at this price point to be that perfect. Job well done, handyman. Well, it's time to put in some of the nicest doorknobs, most expensive doorknobs you will ever see. They're made of diamonds. I will put a link down in the description where you can get these. If you live in like a sanctuary city, people eat this up. You want to see what it is? Glass doorknobs. I said it was made of diamonds, but get a look at that. Those millennials that purposely go to those sanctuary cities, they start salivating at the mouth when you have solid oak doors and fancy glass doorknobs. So this door was pre-mortised out for the strike plate. Kit comes with two different ones, pointy corners or rounded corners. I've got rounded corners. Put this sucker right in there. Oh, look at that, perfect fit. Perfect fit. Now, if I wasn't lazy, I would have used a self-centering drill bit on this, but I'm just gonna screw it in. Really should have my self-centering drill bit. Self-centering drill bit is this thing that goes on a drill and then gets you a perfect pilot hole. Perfect, so that you don't go skewing off to the side. Like that. So now, that wasn't perfectly centered, so I'm going to get the next one in, the bottom one. Try to get that one as perfectly centered. Doesn't look like that's going to happen either. Boom, and boom. And they kind of just nestle and squeeze right into their homes. So again, here on your door latch, pop that sucker in there, and it recesses in, and it comes with both square and rounded covers. I think these are brass screws because they certainly do not want to magnetize themselves to my drill bit tip. Now this is the only downfall to this one. Normally there's a little slot in this tab that goes in this hole, and you just stick a screwdriver in there, pry it out a little bit to take up that slack. This one doesn't have it, so I'm going to have to pull the whole thing out and carefully bend it, and I don't want to scratch. Of course, it is inside the hole, and no one's ever going to really see it. But so this little tab right here, I've got to bend this way to take up the slop in there. Hopefully I got it right on the first try. As you can see, this is plywood. You can only put screws in and out of this so many times. And I'll give it a good guesstimate on the bend. I just use these pair of pliers over here, nothing fancy. They bent real easy, so I didn't have to mar anything up. But this is gonna be it, the final one, because I don't wanna have to mess with these screw holes. Little left-handed screwdriver action. Want to be careful. That's why I'm not using my impact driver to bust out these holes even more. All right, let's give it a shot. Good enough. Good enough. Yeah, I still don't like to hear that sound. All right, I'm going to do one more. Still pretty good tension on these screws. All right, they're gonna try. Oh, it gives me gas. Fine answer. Woo! Okay. That's pretty good. Pretty good. I like that. See that? You can give it a nice jiggle. Nice jiggle. No wobble. No banging. I know you were thinking to yourself, wait a minute.
That door ain't done, Handyman. You gotta put all the trim on there.
You're right. That'll be in the next video. So make sure you're subscribed and you click on the notifications, the bell, and select all, ring all.
Ding dong dang.
Go get yourself a caulk gun t-shirt. You can get a caulk gun on a hat too. I don't even know what's on here. This is a prototype. This was one of my wannabe Magnum PI hats. It says HM, Handyman. Put down in the comments, what hat did Magnum wear in the TV show Magnum PI? Thanks for watching. Goodbye.